Hello and welcome to the Goon Talk, back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our tactical breakdown series. Now, we haven't had one of these for a while, so those of you that are new to this or have just simply forgotten because it's been so long, this is a show where we break down the players that Arsenal have been linked to and look into why Arsenal should or should not, in some cases, be signing these players with the help of some expertise from outside of just the realms of what I'm able to talk to you about. And this is definitely relevant to the player that we're being linked to today. But before we get into that, please make sure you drop a like on the video. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new to keep up to date and get all the information you need about players that could be joining Arsenal whenever the next season starts, or even maybe before this season finishes, because we are in a complete realm of uncertainty right now. But please make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. But let's get into today's video as we talk about Axel Disasi, which Disasi, it's a strange one. It's a strange name. Never really heard of a player with that sort of surname. In terms of the first name, Axel, I mean, favourite name footballer on earth, Axel Witsel, is obviously a contender up there. But Axel Disasi, young guy who I don't know anything about this guy. And I'm not going to sit here and be someone that tries to preach after watching some episodes of him on Scout Nation, on YouTube, or any other compilation of clips which make him look like Virgil van Dijk. But what I am going to provide for you in a second is a bunch of statistics broken down and giving you all the insight in terms of that, but also some expert insight from someone who certainly knows a lot about Axel, and that is Jeremy Smith from French Football Weekly. So take it away, Jeremy, and tell all the listeners what we can expect from this youngster.
In the last day or two, Arsenal have been strongly linked with Reims defender Axel Disasi, and although he's not such a big name as Saliba and sort of not talked about in the same kind of glowing terms, this still could be a potentially really good signing for Arsenal. Disasi is also a right-sided centre-back who can fill in a right-back if need be. He's 22 now, so still relatively young, but he's kind of taken the long way round to getting a top-flight career. He didn't actually join a sort of club youth academy till he was 16. That was Paris FC. Then he moved on to Reims, played sort of a dozen or so matches 2 years ago as they got promoted to Ligue 1. Last year, only played 4 matches, only starting one, which actually was the very last match of the season against PSG, which Reims won. But this year, as Engels has moved to Aston Villa, Disasi really took the chance, has taken his chance to become the main starting right-sided centre-back. He's played all but one of league matches this year and been a crucial part of the excellent Rats defence, who've only conceded 21 goals all season. The best record in Ligue 1, better than PSG, Marseille, and all those at the top. I think 11 of them have been clean sheets as well. So clearly a really dominant defence. That includes, by the way, earlier in the season that they beat PSG again at the Parc des Princes, and Disasi got an 8 out of 10 ranking in L'Equipe. And anyone who follows L'Equipe rankings know that they're pretty strict and pretty harsh. So 8 out of 10 is proper plaudits, I guess. Disasi is kind of a sort of classic centre back in that he's tall, he's very strong. Whereas Saliba is a kind of more Varane type, sort of maybe cerebral, doesn't need to throw himself into tackles because he's got such good positioning. Disasi is the type that actually quite likes the physical aspect of the game, but he does it really well, and he's relatively clean with it. He's only got 3 bookings this season, which is pretty good for someone in their sort of breakout season in the top flight. Very good in the air. As I said, strong in the tackle. He's kind of, you can tell the way he plays. He's very relaxed, but not in a sort of switching off way. He concentrates really well. He just seems very unfazed by everything, and sort of takes it in his stride, which maybe has something to do with the fact that he sort of had to wait for his chance in professional football. So I think in terms of sort of dealing with the pressure of the Premier League, that shouldn't be an issue. In terms of his ability on the ball. He's not quite as technically sound as Saliba, for example. He's decent with it, and he's certainly capable of giving a small pass and being aware of the players around him. He's not always going to just hoof it into rosette, but maybe that is an area that he can work on a little bit. Likewise, he's only scored one goal this season, 2 in his career, and considering his aerial prowess, maybe he could be a little bit more of a sort of benefit in the attacking sense, although Reims aren't known for their attacking prowess in general. But certainly, just as a centre-back, he's really good prospect. Look, I guess a couple of question marks. First of all, you could say that he's also very much right-sided, so unless Arteta is thinking of playing in a 3, or 3 centre-backs, maybe with Saliba in the centre, you have to wonder if they could both fit into the same team, or one of them would have to adapt to moving to the left-hand side. The other thing is that as great as, I mean, maybe this is just looking for things to question him about, but RAS have got such a good defensive unit. Their goalkeeper Rajkovic has been absolutely superb, and the keeper of the season so far in Ligue 1. And Younes Abdelhamid, who's the more experienced centre-back next to Disasi, has also had a really good season. I mean, for me, he's the most underrated player in the league, probably. So I guess you could say, well, he's walked into a very good setup. Everything's kind of suited to him. What if he moved into a more unsettled defence, where there's more question marks, where maybe he needs to take more of a leadership role? But as I said, that's kind of looking for things to question. Certainly, this is his first true season in the top flight. So maybe you need to kind of assess his performances over a longer period. But considering that this is, as I said, his first season, he really has taken it in his stride. He's already a France under-20 international, but Congo have been sniffing around trying to get him to opt for them. And yeah, I think a really good prospect, a relatively kind of late discovery, but possibly that's actually to his benefit, because there's been less kind of attention on him than a Saliba, for example. His contract ends in 2021. His agent is his brother, which maybe again is an indication that he's a little bit more sort of, I don't know, feet on the ground, I suppose, unless you ignore examples like Anelka, for example. But I think that's maybe been an issue for Ras in terms of trying to extend his contract. So there's a very good chance that they'll want to cash in this summer. And I think Arsenal would be a really good move for him. As I said, my only question mark possibly is, does he want immediate first team action? Because with Saliba coming in as well, it could be that he'll spend more time than not on the bench. But he's shown a lot of patience throughout his career, and I'm sure he'll be willing to do that again for the chance to eventually make a place for himself in the Arsenal team.
Big thank you to Jeremy there for giving us all the in-depth insight we could possibly wish for on Axel Disasi. Disasi, it turns out, is the correct pronunciation. I mean, from listening to what Jeremy said there, it just basically gives me the same sort of feelings that William Saliba. And whilst Jeremy mentioned that he's maybe not as up there in terms of highly ratedness, if that's not even a term, is it? In terms of just how good this guy is, he's not rated the same as William Saliba, but that doesn't stop this guy from being a top quality player, which is clearly the potential is there. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens if he does sign for Arsenal. But we do like to continue this video into the statistical realm, and we start that off with our trusty heat map, which you can see on the screen now. As Jeremy said, right-sided centre-back. He's certainly someone that would occupy that space. He doesn't even drift. I mean, if you look at Saliba's heat map, for instance, and you can access that online somewhere. I use Y-Scout personally, which you have to pay quite a lot for, but if you can find the equipment to get that sort of information, you see that William Saliba is much more fluid in terms of how he works across the back line. But Disasi, very, very disciplined, and actually spends a lot of time in the box, surprisingly, more down to Ram and how they play their football, and obviously being on the back foot maybe quite a lot but Disasi does not like to push forward too much, and when he does, it's usually going to be for a corner because this guy is tall, and we'll come on to some of those stats in just a second. In terms of looking at the defensive statistics, defensive duels, 5 of those being done in every game, and nearly 70% of those are being won. He's winning 60% of aerial duels, which amass to just under 5 in each game. He's winning 77% of the loose ball duels, which is quite nice as well. Sliding tackles, he wins 80%, even though he's not partaking, should I say, in too many of those in each game. 4 interceptions in a match for a centre-back is fairly spot on, especially in a league like Ligue 1, such a physical league. Losses in his own half, 42% are being lost. Obviously, you'd expect that for a centre-half. He's not venturing into the opposition half to lose the ball, but losing the ball 7 times with a recovery of over 11 is a good ratio to have. We like to see that the recovery side of things is significantly higher than that of the losses. Clearances being 3, fouls 1, yellow cards and red cards. Rather disciplined player, which I like to see. Moving on to the passing statistics, 88% pass accuracy from a centre-back is strong. We often like to see those maybe drift into the 90s because they don't usually have to pass too much in terms of riskier ones, but long passes actually are seemingly a bit of a part of his game. Over 5 of those, nearly 6 of those being played in each game with a 53% accuracy rating is good. Through passes aren't really part of his game, neither will be crosses. Passes into the final third, though, are certainly a part of his game. 6.3 of those being made with a 63.6% success rate is very good as well. Passes into the box for a centre-back, you don't expect this to be too high, but making one of those in each game tells me that possibly one of those long passes are going into the box as a very direct route, something that I can't see being translated too seamlessly into an Arsenal side. Although if you look at what David Luiz has done recently, maybe there is more of a chance to see that happening. Receive passes is certainly not someone to shy away from the ball, and that's why he's receiving the ball over 30 times in each game. Forward to backward pass ratio, always going to be strongly positive. Then moving ahead and looking at his offensive stats, which, as we always like to say, is a little comical for a centre-back. But shots on target, 0.41, with 21.4% of those are being done on target. I mean, 0.41 shots in each game for a centre-back with 21.4%. It's not even that bad for a centre-back. And if you look at the screen there, he has scored so far, and that's come from basically being on the line, as what it says there. So definitely a bit of a poacher, maybe a bit of a dark horse in terms of poaching. Shot assists and crosses and dribbles, no. Offensive duels, 1.62, with 50% of those being won. Again, he's just not that type of player. He's not an adventurous centre-back. Progressive runs, still low. Foul suffered, still low. So we talk about those offensive stats quite comedically, but ultimately it adds up, passing and defensive-wise, into someone that is definitely a real talent and something that we could see translate to the Premier League very well. This guy's 1.9 metres in height, well over 6 foot. And certainly someone that I think that could translate his physicality to the Premier League in terms of whether his consistency and working against some of the higher quality forwards we've seen from the Premier League. And although Jeremy said that they've got around a better defensive record than that of PSG and Marseille and the like, that still translating it to a league like the Prem could be slightly more difficult. But we're into the realm of hypotheticals now, and I just think that it's certainly someone that if you're going to spend 15 million quid on him, which is what we're being linked with, maybe that's a certain amount of money we can afford to take a risk with. Let me know what your thoughts are on Axel Disasi in the comments section below. I'm really interested to know what your thoughts are. Do you think we should sign him? Do you think we should be looking elsewhere, especially since Upamecano seemingly is off to one of the big Manchester clubs, or possibly even Bayern Munich or Barcelona? So I think that one has probably gone, on Arsenal's sights are certainly being set elsewhere, as we're seeing with these links. I really hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, please give us a like. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new, and follow us on Twitter at The Gooner Talk TV. You can follow Jeremy, our expert for today, at JeremySmith98 as well. See you again very, very soon, and as always, up the Arsenal.